Is AI coming for your job or not? If you've been doom scrolling headlines to figure out whether an algorithm is about to replace you, you might be feeling some whiplash. AI is not killing jobs. The era of mega AI layoffs is here. The AI jobs apocalypse is not yet upon us. The AI apocalypse may already be here. Tech optimists like Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei and Bill Gates say an AI reckoning is coming.
Will we still need humans?
Not for most things. We'll decide.
Comforted. So what's actually happening? Let's start with the scary stuff. Companies are cutting jobs. Target, UPS, Microsoft, IBM. They've all slashed thousands of roles. Amazon eliminated 14,000 in October, citing AI efficiency gains. Even Jerome Powell, the man whose job is literally to stay calm, seems a little worried.
A significant number of companies either announcing that they are not going to be doing much hiring or actually doing layoffs. And much of the time they're talking about AI and what it can do.
But here's the twist. The data doesn't show AI is causing mass unemployment, at least not yet. Researchers have looked. The link mostly isn't there. Yes, certain workers are getting squeezed, junior coders, gig workers, anyone doing repetitive digital tasks. But in the overall labor market, things like trade wars and inflation have all led to a slowdown. The U.S. began tightening monetary policy around the time ChatGPT was released. But, and say it with me, correlation is not causation. More ice cream consumption does not mean an explosion in autonomous cars. It could be the other way around. No matter, disruptive change is coming. AI adoption is happening faster than any technology in human history, faster than the internet, faster than electricity. That speed means turbulence. Historically, that's what happens with big technological leaps. Steam engines killed jobs. Industrial looms killed jobs. Cars killed jobs. But they created enough new jobs that overall employment grew. Except for horse and buggy drivers. A tough century for them. Will AI repeat that pattern? Maybe. It could turbocharge productivity, creating new industries, helping developing countries leapfrog ahead, or maybe not. If AI ends up concentrated in wealthy countries and wealthy companies with wealthy people, the gains would be wildly uneven. Because here's another issue. The World Bank estimates 1.2 billion people will enter the global workforce in the next decade, but only 420 million jobs will be created. I hope they're wrong. If not, that's a massive gap. And that growth will happen primarily in developing countries which don't have the electricity, the broadband, or the infrastructure to benefit fully from AI's potential. 1 billion young people, not enough jobs, plus the uncertainty of what AI will mean for the labor force and the very idea of work itself, all creating a real problem where the math just doesn't add up. As always, what happens next depends less on the tech and more on what governments and companies and all of us decide to do with it.
So that's the issue that we're dealing with now. And I was just watching a podcast called The Diary of a CEO. And Dr. Roman Yampolsky is an AI safety researcher with a PhD in computer science. His view is that he's basically a doomsdayer. He believes that AI essentially is going to take over almost all jobs, close to 99%. Now, if you see what this individual had to say, this guy is saying that, there could be, he doesn't really know, and I don't think any of us really know, but there's a possibility that it will create newer jobs, different jobs for people. And I tend to think that that's probably what's going to end up happening. But what the most important point he made in that video is that people seem to be saying, not all, but a lot are saying that AI currently is what's causing a lot of the issues in the labor market right now. And that's just not true. Now, it doesn't mean that it's not going to in the future as AI becomes better, more efficient, smarter, more powerful. And then when you add robots into the mix, who's to say that you're not going to have robot plumbers actually doing physical labor? And so when you get somebody like Roman Yampolsky say that virtually every single job that's out there can be replaced, it seems as if maybe what he's saying could potentially be true. But that remains to be seen. Now, there's an article here from Entrepreneur Magazine that I wanted to read. And this particular individual, Mohammed Fawaz, says how AI is driving jobs, not layoffs, and why we should not be scared. And so it goes in and says automation, a term loaded with implications, predictions, and controversies, and has always been a constant topic of debate since the early 18th century. Back then, with the boom of the Industrial Revolution, newspapers and thinkers warned that machines would soon take over unskilled jobs. Although the outcome of automation has evidently turned out to be different, the notion of uncertainty, unfortunately, has not changed. Now, I think things may be a little bit different from the Industrial Revolution and how machines have changed and taken over unskilled jobs, as in the reasoning of what was just brought up earlier with robotics and things like that. So I'm hoping and I'm thinking that maybe it is just another industrial revolution that we're going to go through. But again, I can't help but not think that there's that possibility that because this is much more powerful in the way of technology with robotics as well as AI, that it could very well be different. But this guy goes on to say the same does apply to AI. The fear of AI taking over livelihoods is especially strong among both young people entering fields as well as experienced professionals who feel pressured to learn it in order to stay relevant. The biggest worry is that AI will take over all work and leave no jobs. This is exactly what the doctor was saying, is that that's what he fears. So you have these doomsdayers versus the optimists. And I think that it's really hard to say either way who is right at this point. However, according to the global economic forecasts, including those from McKinsey and Company, AI is expected to create at least 20 to 50 million new jobs worldwide by 2030. Meanwhile, PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, predicts that AI could add up to $15.7 trillion to the global economy by the next 5 years. The World Economic Forum, in its latest Future of Jobs report, whether you trust the WEF or not, ranked AI coupled with big data skills, cybersecurity know-how, and tech literacy as three of the most in-demand skills driving macro trends in labor market transformation. The problem with that is big data skills, cybersecurity, and all that type of stuff, depending on how AI ends up getting smarter, which it is day by day so quickly, is are you going to need cybersecurity? Once again, it's almost in a way that some of these people are thinking or hoping that their jobs are going to be saved in that particular industry where AI can very well take over that area or that industry. Metaphorically, Chris Hume once said, "The road is there, it will always be there. You just have to decide when to take it." The same can be applied for AI and its path. Ultimately, it is us entrepreneurs who have to choose whether to take it. And that's true for now, but then up to a certain extent, at what point does it ultimately take over, or does it? And I think that barring the dangers of AI and it killing humans and things like that, I don't think that's anything for us to discuss at this point. But I definitely am in the camp of AI helping those entrepreneurs and people who are trying to get ahead and use AI to help them supplement whatever it is that they're doing. And that's what, in my opinion, I think AI is doing, is supplementing people who need it. How AI is used to solve real problems today in the developing world AI is already solving problems that humans alone cannot tackle productively. In businesses, for example, AI allows entrepreneurs to focus on more complex tasks by automating routine ones, sparing time for more high-value work, which is definitely helpful for things that that I do, that repetitive tasks and things like that. So when it comes to certain things like video editing and other tasks like that that are somewhat repetitive, writing scripts, things of that nature, that's certainly helpful in those repetitive tasks that do take a lot of time, copywriting, things of that nature. So that is a very true statement. In education, AI-powered tools are breaking down century-long language barriers by providing live translations, which is definitely helpful, amping real-time communication. Countries like Japan are now heavily investing in assistive technologies and AI-driven robots in an effort to provide adequate health care for their rapidly aging population. That's the other thing is, AI is, and I did this Thursday nights live, it's AI is involved in just about every single possible industry that you can come up with. And we talked about the medical industry. We talked about the legal profession, you name it, it's going to be involved in some way. Let's say major banks such as JP Morgan Chase have deployed machine learning programs to detect unusual transaction patterns in real time to minimize swindling, things that no human can possibly monitor at that scale. And I've heard these stories before. Banks are utilizing AI technology to see how people who are committing fraud, because they're always coming up with new ideas to do it. And so I spoke to somebody in the insurance industry related to AI, and they said that it is super helpful with these banks where the bank can stay one step ahead of the swindler or the crook because they're constantly coming up with new ideas in order to steal money. So AI can definitely help with that, where you just couldn't do it efficiently and effectively enough with just simply humans. In addition, AI now supports the global fight against climate change by optimizing renewable energy production using live sensory data to improve generation and efficiency. Well, we always have to throw in climate change. Meanwhile, you have massive AI farms, server farms, that when it comes to the climate, seemingly that's not that big of a deal. And I am going to do a story specifically on that, but I will be getting into that in the next story related to DeSantis's legislation. So according to PwC's fourth Global Investor Survey, 61% of investors believe that faster AI adoption is extremely important for business growth. Businesses grow through value creation. To see value, it is important to view things in a different way. Similarly, in entrepreneurship, the mindset of uncertainty and reluctance to pursue new things needs to be replaced with curiosity. And once again, shameless plug, we have AI tools to help you learn how to prompt AI and use AI for just simply writing. If you want to write emails, if you want to write articles, if you want to do press releases, things like that, completely free, that you can download and take those prompts and put them in the ChatGPT and learn how to use AI from a basic level like that. And so you start to kind of get into it a little bit, start using it a little bit more, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, this thing is the greatest thing ever. Our fears should be phased out with adaptability, and our confusions should be resolved through collaboration. Historically, automation has always caused fear among people. It's agreed. The introduction of mass-producing machines led thinkers to worry about job losses. But in reality, it only ended up creating new industries and new skills. And I'm hoping that that's where that goes in this sense. Similarly, AI too has a potential to open new avenues and new lines of work. And this is a very good statement, but what makes AI different is its pace. It is happening extremely rapidly, thanks to the improving digital connectivity and the growth of the Internet of Things. People are now welcoming AI into their day-to-day life as it makes it easier. Additionally, accessibility to AI tools are no longer only available for large labs or specific demographics. Open source models, APIs, and free cloud-based AI programs are pushing a strong culture of awareness worldwide. And that does not mean that entrepreneurs and employees should start worrying about having nothing to offer. The core aim of deploying AI into everyday life is to augment what humans can do. And this is something I've always been saying, and I said it earlier. I use AI to help me accomplish tasks that I normally would not have been able to do without much more time or effort. And in a lot of cases, do it more accurately. It is used to complement human input, not replace it. Totally agree with that. Moreover, human judgments in creativity, emotional intelligence, and collaboration will always be essential to fully capitalize on AI's transformative potential. They say that you need a mind to hunt a mind. This is why at Curve Up, which is the company that this guy has founded, we emphasize problem-solving skills as the foremost aptitude for entrepreneurs when adopting AI. And then finally, it goes on to say that McKinsey did some research, and they found out that nearly all companies now invest in AI. This is very important to point out. Only 1% believe themselves mature, meaning AI is credibly integrated into their workflows to bring measurable outcomes. So, in other words, what they're saying is that a lot of companies are using AI, but they really don't feel or they don't think that it's making a massive change in what it is that they're doing. Now, that can mean a number of things. They're not using it properly. It's certainly not sophisticated enough to replace a lot of jobs. Again, people are making AI out to be something way bigger, way more powerful than it actually is at the current moment. It's not to say that it's going to get more powerful over time, because it will. But as of now, people are seeing all of this NVIDIA, and they're seeing Microsoft and all these huge companies spending billions, if not trillions of dollars in this AI race, this arms race. And they seem to think that somehow this AI is this behemoth that is completely taking over people's jobs. And this is why everybody's getting fired at all these tech jobs. And that's not the case necessarily. So, again, the economy, tariffs, there's just a fluctuation in the economy that happens on a normal basis. It has nothing to do with AI all of a sudden eliminating all these people's jobs. Now, there's some jobs I'm sure that are eliminated that are repetitive and boring and can be, somewhat easily taken over by AI, but not everybody. Not everybody right now is losing their job because of that. So let me know what you have to say about this. Do you think that AI is going to replace everybody's job eventually, like the doctor says? Do you think that the doomsdayers like Roman Yampolsky, that everybody's going to lose their job? Or do you think that it's going to bring new opportunities like the Industrial Revolution, like the cotton gin, like, the printing press? Do you think ultimately that it's going to give people new opportunities, in other words, as opposed to eliminate all jobs? Let me know what you have to say in the comments, and we will move on to the next story here.